how can it look like, how can it basically work also for patients. But actually now what we want to do is to really see and get a feel for it. And this is what's so interesting, and I hope also for you as exciting as for our last panel. It is really about the technical deep dive, as we called it, or we also called it H2O Live, because we will see actual live demos from our technical provider partners, from the H2O Insight Center, so really very exciting. And because we have so much that we want to show you, you can also see that not only did we increase the number of seats on the stage, but you can see this is really like a very, very elaborated panel that we have here. And so I will make it very quick with the introduction, so that we have some time to actually then get into it and have a look. And first of all, I want to introduce Yolanda Kondas, who is the moderator of this panel. Yolanda is with Takeda and yeah, very, very engaged into the H2O project from the get-go. I learned the other week that you were the first actual employee of H2O, so or member of the team, you can say that. Member of the family, yeah? Exactly, member of the family. So welcome, Yolanda. I also would like to welcome Jolene Munir on stage for Elekta Kaiku, Johannes Alisch from Maya Tools. We have Professor Dr. Timo Schönköte joining online for Kankado. We also have Aaron Galatznik online from CareVive. Rita Samento, also from Takeda, will also be online. Brandon Boyle from Takeda will be in person, and we are very happy to have you here. And Rahim, you will also be in person from Novartis joining us. Yeah, I think we can see a lot of people, a lot of eagerness to show you what has been developed already. And we also see people already online. Perfect. With that, I would hand it to you, Yolanda, to guide us through this very exciting live demo panel. Give it away.
Thank you, Judith. Also, on behalf of myself, very welcome to indeed this last but not least panel. I really enjoyed the last panel we just witnessed, the virtual panel #1, but we promise we make this as exciting as that one. Indeed, this is called H2O Live, and we have been talking about what we can do with that data, but we are actually already collecting that data. We heard that this morning that we have already 1,000 patients included in H2O, and also 9 technology providers connected to our network. And today we have 3 of them here, so they will show you what a patient actually is engaging and looking like if the technical solution has been provided. So we will see actually how these technical solutions look in real life, so H2O Live. So I'm really happy to be able to moderate this panel for you today. My name is Yolanda Kondas, and indeed I work with Takeda, and I'm very passionate about H2O. And we also talked about the H2O family, and if I think of family, I also have to think about Christmas. It's one of my, maybe some of you don't know it, but my secret little best time of the year. So I think about the Christmas tree and decorations, the Christmas presents, and singing Mariah Carey songs. Don't worry, I will not start to sing, but I feel like Santa today, because we have all these great demos, and we will start with that immediately. So let me welcome in alphabetical order Professor Timo Schönköte from Kankado. He will start with a 5-minute pitch, and then we will follow with the other ones. But let me first say hello to Timo and welcome you on board.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being there virtually, of course. I welcome you here from Milan. I'm at the Bocconi University at the moment.
You can start your demo immediately, and then we will go to the other panelist.
Okay, so hopefully you can see now my screen. Yeah, thank you. I was pleased or I was asked to show what we did within the H2O project. And therefore, I would like to only focus specifically on what is going on there. We are working together with a German team on diabetes, and on their request, we implemented the Promise system into the platform. So Kinkado is a platform for multiple purposes. What you can see now is a login of a healthcare professional, and depend on the project, the dashboard can be adapted or changed. And I will now switch to the Promise. Here are 3 dummy patients which I can open. And so the idea of implementing Promise here was it to make it as easy and simple as possible. So once I start the patient account, I have 3 main focuses to look into it. One is the history of data in the same style as in routine care. A lab result is shown. So here are the values. If available, if not answered, then it's of course not available. And the color code indicates if it's normal or out of range. So that is the central page. On the right-hand side, that's a second use case. Of course, in case a patient comes and we want to give the patient the chance to enter a new, an updated result of the questionnaire. There are different ways how a patient can participate. One is there is maybe a device which is able to scan a QR code. It can be the device of the patient itself. It can be a tablet provided by the hospital, or in case of a patient who is handicapped, I have the chance to open the questionnaire in the name of the patient and then ask a question, and maybe a nurse or whoever can then fill in the data. Or there's a way to that the patient can open in a different browser, and that's then the use case here, that I can enter this access code. And here I have to tell the Promise questionnaire, which we have so far, we only get the rights in German. Therefore, that questionnaire will, of course, then start in German. And I can put in my results. And I'm having a little bit of overlap. And then the patient can take his time, answer, and the results will be reflected to the healthcare professional again. And the third feature, which is quite a common feature in Germany, is printing out the questionnaire, because what we often experience in a lot of medical centers in Germany, that the last meter to the doctor table is in print out by paper. So therefore, paper is important. Another special thing on the Promise system, I don't know if you're all aware, Promise has a mean result, but it also has a range. And so if I click on a specific date, I can see here now the results on the right-hand side with the standard, within the tables here on the right-hand side. That's what we did so far within the Promise system, or within the Promise for the H20. And yeah, well, tried to be quick and fast in giving you an overview.
Thanks, Timo. I think that looks very promising indeed, and very good to know that Germany has already experiences all those PROs being available for patients. Let's move on to the next demo. I'm looking at Jolene Meunier from Electra Kaiku, who will show on behalf of their company what is being done.
And let's see if it all works. Nice to meet and see you all today. I'm going to be quick, but I do like to share a little bit of background and start with Kaiku. Kaiku actually means echoing in Finnish, echoing the voice of the patient. And that's what we aim to do specifically within cancer care. And the solution is a Class 2A medical device within Europe, and we are focusing on the digital monitoring of those patients, as well as be the communication tool between the healthcare professional and the patient. And let me show you how that looks like. So this is a patient And I'm at the moment Jennifer, and Jennifer is a breast cancer patient, and she's on a CDK4/6 inhibitor treatment, just the breast cancer treatment, in case you do not know this particular treatment. And she is asked to fill out the questionnaire, and she can do so immediately from here. In this case, it's a selective questionnaire, so at this moment, Jennifer is only experiencing general symptoms. So she then gets those questions about their symptoms, so it can be cough, shortness of breath, fever, nausea, vomiting, and many more that are suitable for that particular treatment. And let's take the example of decreased appetite. In case this is experienced as a yes, there is adaptive further questions coming. So for example, what's the severity? Well, maybe it's very severe and there have been changes in the eating habit. And they've also significantly lost weight, and perhaps, I don't know, my weight is 50 at the moment. So it's all capturing that data, and maybe there is no fatigue, maybe a little bit of mild dizziness, but it hadn't limited my usual activities. So no, and it neither limited my self-care activities. And then what happens is that the patient also receives immediate automated feedback on the symptoms that they are experiencing. So in this case, about the decreased appetite, they immediately get the referral that they need to contact the care team because it's a severe side effect. As well as they know what is a little bit of the trends that they have been going through in terms of their symptoms. And in case of this dizziness, they also have instructions of what they can do better to manage, self-manage that symptom. And there is also the option to find more knowledge and support materials around their treatment that they are experiencing within the hospital to make even more value to the patient than only filling out those symptom questionnaires. And by the way, the platform is accessible through web browser and through the application for the patients. And we're active in 20 plus countries today, so a lot of work has been done. And as you log in from the doctor's perspective, it actually looks very different. So at first, what you will see in the middle is the new notification from Jennifer that has been reporting a grade 3 on the decreased appetite. That is a stable trend in this case because I reported decreased appetite before, and a little bit of increase in the dizziness. Then what you can do on one hand is to dive deeper into what is all the symptoms that have been experienced by Jennifer. But what you could also do is you can go to the patient summary and then get a complete overview of symptoms that have been experienced by the patient. And this is the same view that the patient can also see. So the patient can also, for example, see the trend on, I think Tanya gave an example of fatigue, not remembering how fatigued they actually felt within their treatment. But here, the patient can also access their trend of, do they see that being increased or not? And in case that the patient also allows for it, there's also possibilities to include activity-based data. For example, the amount of footsteps that a patient has been taking. And then there is, of course, the whole part on data extraction. So there is possibilities to extract data on individual level as well as on complete patient population level to really dive into the details of how is certain disease effects experienced by populations. And by really monitoring digitally on those patients, there is examples and studies we have been performing ourselves as well. For example, by digitally monitoring patients, cancer patients, that peripheral neuropathy has been detected 3 months earlier than for the patients that have not been monitored digitally. And there's many other examples where it has been shown. So I think prior, the other colleague from Concado, I'm so sorry to pronounce it wrongly, and myself and also the others are showcasing you real examples of what we can do. So let's bring it into practice and on to the next. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Indeed, a great example how these tools could really support the communication between patients and doctors and also do the tracking and the alerts. I think Maya Tools also has a great example to show us, and we welcome Dr. Johanna Sales, who's, you're not a doctor actually, but you will show very exciting stuff, so we're very curious to learn.
It's very flattering, thank you very much, but actually I'm not a doctor. Okay, let me set up. I'm doing a little bit of a pirate presentation here because I'm actually the only one using PowerPoint still. And I'm sorry for that, but it makes things easier to explain from our point of view. Okay, is this live now? Yeah, perfect. So my name is Johannes. We are Maya Tools. I'm here with my two colleagues, Heinz and Agnes. We are a company based in Vienna and Salzburg. I'm from Salzburg myself, and I feel like we're kind of the new guys to the party, having recently been assigned to deliver the technical solution for the Austrian chapter for Medical University of Vienna. So we here at Maya Tools, we are patients. We aren't researchers and we aren't doctors. We first set out to create our products from self-experience as patients in hospitals and in the treadmills of medicine that you all know so well. So looking at our service, the Maya platform from a macro perspective is a software solution that can automatically deliver communication solutions at every point of the patient journey. So wherever and whenever a hospital or a research group needs to get into contact with a patient to communicate something, anything really, the platform is your hidden champion, so to speak, and it takes a lot of work off doctors' and researchers' hands. So when connected to a hospital information system, which is the first point you see here on the slide, the red one, a trigger can be sent to our system, and the trigger could be a treatment date, for example, a set treatment for a patient. Then, following this trigger, Maya will deliver anamnesis or organizational forms to patients by sending them a link via email or SMS text message. By clicking on that link, patients can access all of these modules. So I'm trying a link now. It's in a PowerPoint, so it might not work, as always. Oh, it does. Perfect. Okay, so once we get closer to the actual treatment date, Maya will send a link to patients to an informed consent module featuring animated movies like these and interactive media. Those movies and media explain the planned procedure to patients in their own language. Our modules are designed to be low threshold and easily understandable for all patients, and this means simple language, visual information, no software or hardware requirements, other than a modern, halfway decent browser, of course, and no logins except for areas where patients access their personal data. Now I'm sorry to cut the film short, but I'm going back here. Okay, there we are back again. So after the treatment, of course, the same can be done for aftercare information that needs to be sent to patients. And of course, now I'm getting to the topic, I'm so sorry guys, to patient-reported outcome questions. So ePro is actually a most recently added feature and already has created a huge buzz for us, only underlining its importance. So this would be the example of a questionnaire that a patient would see. I'm not going to click through everything, you know the deal. So we have one question per slide, which is really important to us. And I would also like to show you that for researchers and for patients alike, we have a dashboard. Everybody calls it a dashboard. We also call it a dashboard. So we have a dashboard where we can look at patients' data down at the questionnaire level, down to single questions. What we also do is in real time we create these scores that we can get from all the data points that the patients typed in. So these are all obviously not real patients for now. Now the reason I'm showing you all of this in my precious 5 minutes is that I want you to understand the principle where we are coming from. We want to enhance patients' contact points with all these innovative digital processes, and we already do so For example, at the hospital of Barmherzige Brüder in Graz, second largest city in Austria, our challenge was to make remote data collection and informed consent explanations digitally and feasible for everybody, for doctors as well as patients. And after introducing Maya tools, we were able to increase patient participation with the tool from 69 to 82%, and module completions, which is one of these modules would be a run through with a movie, for example, from 59 to 91% within 1 year. So by embedding ePro in an all-encompassing process like this, we like to change the perception of PRO processes themselves, almost like a paradigm shift, because suddenly patient-reported outcome studies aren't foreign or alien objects anymore, but a tool that can be switched on easily, like adding a subscription. With Maya, it can become an automated, built-in feature that integrates seamlessly into all the other processes you see on that list. And that's where we want to take this, because it will help combat issues that we've heard actually today in the first panel, like underrepresented groups of patients or PROs that are only conducted in big cities or medical university clinics. We can definitely help with those contexts. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for the great demos showcasing what we are doing already today, how H2O is indeed live with these great digital health applications, both innovative but also supporting both patients and physicians, showcasing the dashboards and all the features that are in. In the remaining a little bit in the spirit of Christmas, and we talked about wishes this morning. What could you foresee in the future how your application could evolve? Maybe I hand over to Jolene first as a woman, and then we go to Timo and Johannes afterwards.
I love wish lists, so let's get going. So I would say that by generating a lot of data in the routine care space, and then also being able, through AI and machine learning algorithms, being able to predict also onset of symptoms, and based on that, advise on the treatment for that patient. Well, I think that's already kind of the North Star. So I will stop here because I think there's much more to come, but let's take that as an intermediary North Star.
Timo, do you want to go next?
Yes, of course. So you asked for the system in general, not for the elements we developed for H2O. Say our main focus is on clinical trials for digital health. And still, I think there's a lot of research which has to be done on digital health and how we can do digital transformation in healthcare. Especially now we are facing a very new opportunities and challenges with AI. And I think merging the opportunities of ePros with AI is the next big step for us. And such a project, I'm currently here in Italy, sitting in a multinational project where we are having a large clinical trial for evaluating AI in patient-facing applications.
That sounds exciting. Johannes, anything on your wish list?
Yes, the wish list is long, but let me just say that we started the company in 2018, and it has been evolving ever since, obviously, and in close cooperation with our customers, with H2O being, so to speak, for us, the newest member in that club. And we see so much influence and so many possibilities that we are excited to create here, especially when looking at accessibility. That's where we come from, you know, providing easy access to information and to forms that need completion, and also for providing researchers with the easiest possible way to interact with their patients and get the data out of a system.
Thank you for all sharing how the tool already looks, but also what is on the wish list. I heard exciting stuff, AI, more research, more data, more support for decision making. Thanks. Remain seated. We have a Q&A later in this panel, so I know that there's a Slido. If you already put your question in, we come back to you afterwards, but please do not feel afraid to reach out with any of your questions. We will come back to that later on. And we will also, at the end of the panel, already show you the Insight Center. It has been announced already a couple of times today, and it's already live, but we will save that for the last item. So Brandon will show that in a second. But first of all, let me go to another part of the panel. And we also have with us Rahim Lali from Novartis. We have Rita online from Takeda. And I also hope that our colleagues from around the globe, from US, from Care5 will join us in a second as well. So let me start with Rita. You are representing the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm very curious to learn from you. What is the reason, or what is a good benefit from industry to join H2O? And tell us a little bit more what's happening in the IBD space.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to join this discussion. And if we think about the role of pharmaceutical companies in H2O movement, and specifically how Takeda is embracing it in the context of inflammatory bowel diseases, we do believe that we play a key role in enabling a better patient management and providing this opportunity that we can bring it to the next level. So in Takeda, we have the ambition to become the most trusted, science-driven digital biopharmaceutical company. And the Living with IBD app, which I will do a short demo in a couple of minutes, really brings this vision to life by enhancing patient management with support of a digital tool and with the patient consent, to really enabling that the data that we are collecting, that the patient is reporting, can be used for a broader purpose for research. So the app is already available in around 16 countries, and it was identified as a suitable platform with which we could contribute to really support the collection of patient-reported outcomes using the IBD disc, which I will again demonstrate, already included in the app. And of course, including the H2O patient agreement and ensure clearly documented patient consent. I'm glad to say that this is now live with H2O in Austria, serving really as an interactive communication platform for the patients with their doctors. This partnership and collaboration is very important for us. The partnership of the industry with the healthcare providers, with patient organizations, technology companies, public organizations, it's really essential for delivering tools that can really impact at multiple levels. And in particular, the healthcare team plays a critical role, because when we give this kind of tool to a patient, it's important for them to really take the patient in this journey of understanding the benefits, how to use the app. And in the end, the value is already being acknowledged by our users. I don't know if you have seen, but H2O recently posted on LinkedIn a feedback from a patient, which I will quote: "The app serves as a communication platform to enhance patient care by facilitating better interaction between patients and healthcare professionals." So I think I will now do the brave test of trying to share my screen to show you exactly what I mean. And let's see, I think. Okay. I'm also still using PowerPoint. I didn't want to make it too risky. Let's launch the. We do a quick just overview of what happens when how to use this application. There is a quick and straightforward registration. You see a lot of text moving very fast. It was for the sake of our 5 minutes. We have all the digitized patient agreements, Data privacy protection, of course, including all relevant information that is important for the patient to feel comfortable about how the data that they are reporting will be used, by whom, which purposes. Only after the consent, we collect the personal details for set up their account. And I think I can move a bit further. So after this initial step, the patient can then log in. And after that, there is some more personal details that are requested, for example, including diagnosis information. The patient can also define if they want to receive some notifications, reminders, and when all of that is set, the app is really ready to be used on a kind of daily basis, or their support tools. From the homepage, you already see there the IBD disk, which is the prompt tool that we are using. You can see now it's progressing through the questionnaire that the patient can see their responses across all the different areas of tracking their symptoms, how they are feeling. They can define how frequently they want to measure this. They can align that, discuss with their doctor, of course. They can also export the report, as earlier said. Sometimes it's easier to have it on paper, see the evolution, have a good discussion with their healthcare professional team. And finally, to terminate, other functionalities include injection site tracker, toilet finder. It's very important for this type of patients, reminders for treatment, appointments. And currently, the IBD disk is the prompt that is included. We are working to include additional 2 other relevant measurements that are already being digitized. So thank you for the opportunity to showcase how Takeda is contributing, and I hope we can continue to support more and more patients with the H20 app. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita, for showcasing indeed a great example where most of our core outcome sets data is in an app that is currently used in Austria. So yes, we are collecting that data. And again, we will see in a second where that lands to in the H20 Insight Center. But just a little bit philosophizing where we can go with having all that data, I would like to turn to my dear colleague Rahim. Real world evidence. What is your perspective on how that could support drug development?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm in Novartis clinical development, and in clinical development, our backbone is the randomized trial. So we go through increasingly complex randomized trials, which randomize more and more patients to assess effectiveness of a novel drug. Now, does anybody know how much it costs to enroll one patient into a randomized trial? So I spoke to a trialist last week at the University of Zurich, so an academic trial, and it's costing this trialist 4,500 Swiss francs for one patient. So these things are expensive. One way we can use real-world data, and the Insight Center, when we get into it, is the ability to create smarter trials. So if I have an understanding of patient disease burden in Europe, I know where to target my trial. If I can find an unmet need through the Patient Insight Center, I can develop a smarter trial. If I have 2 patient-reported outcome measures that are collected at 2 time points, I can perform a sample size calculation. So this is a way that we can essentially create stronger protocols to hopefully maybe even make trials cost less and speed up our protocol development within them. Now, the second point where we can use real-world evidence, and it's currently already being used, is in the post-marketing surveillance sort of area. So randomized trials, again, they're concrete. They have a strict inclusion criteria. When a drug gets out into the real world, it's still important to assess safety, effectiveness of that drug. And so we do so in long-term follow-up through prospective cohorts and retrospective cohorts.
And might you also have an example of where we can use that data? For example, we talked about in the virtual panel decision making. Do you have, from your industry perspective, an example that you want to show?
So I haven't been at Novartis that long. I've been there for about almost a year. But one drug, one blockbuster is Cosentyx. Cosentyx is still something that is talked about broadly within the company as a major success story in the treatment of psoriasis. So it's come out of our immunology pipeline. Now, one of the reasons why Cosentyx was such an important drug is because not only did it show treatment efficacy, it also improved health quality of life of the patients who took the drug sharply in randomized settings. Okay, perfect. Phase 3, right? We've shown that it improves quality of life, but that's not enough. We need to show that it improves quality of life in real world settings, in phase 4. So what does Novartis do? We do 4 prospective cohorts because no registries exist that collect information on health quality of life. So we conduct 1 in Canada, we conduct 1 in Germany. We spend all of this money creating these cohorts, and then after 52 weeks, they end. They stop, right? And I'm assuming that the same thing happens at Takeda, the same thing happens at Roche, the same thing happens at Pfizer. And so if there was an infrastructure where we were collecting this sort of outcome information over time, my colleagues in real-world evidence would love that.
So what would you advise those colleagues, if you give them that one wish, what would you advise those colleagues to do?
My colleagues in real-world evidence? If I could advise my colleagues in real-world evidence, it would be to focus on the building blocks of data. And I know right now there's a lot of hype around AI, there's a lot of hype around prediction modeling. But before we get to that point, I would love them to focus on descriptives. Get the descriptives right, understand the data quality behind the study, then you move to the next rung of prediction, then you move to the next rung of causal inference. So I would actually tell them to just focus more on the building blocks of data. And I think that's what we should do as well as H2O.
Yeah, well, we have great apps that focus on those building blocks and collect that data. So let us move also to another great example, which we have seen now a few examples in Europe, and they're all great, but the colleagues from US also have great examples to show. So I want to give the floor to Aaron from Care5, who will show us an example in lung cancer from US. So Aaron, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. Very much enjoyed hearing the panel presentation speakers so far. I want to share a case example of some work that we did together in collaboration with Takeda, in fact, to explore these questions of PRO deployability and data for informing decision-making in the US. If I could just share some slides. So I will also be using PowerPoint, but this case example very much echoes the themes that we heard in the first panel, which is the challenges of how digital deployment can enable integrating PROs into clinical practice, and then how secondary data can be used to drive research and exploration coming from such solutions. So, for a little bit about Care5, and I'll be brief. We are a digital oncology platform company, and we very much are, like the panelists here, dedicated to the mission of making PROs actionable and relevant to clinical care. Our platform deploys questionnaires and surveys which both provide patient perspective into treatment planning, as well as weekly symptom monitoring surveys that allow patients to report back what symptoms they're experiencing and how that impacts their function and quality of life. This data is used to trigger alerts to the care team when symptoms are moderate severe, so that those symptoms can be better managed and handled by the care team to optimize the patient experience. However, the other thing we do is we take this data and we integrate it with EMR data from the institutions, which also avails us the opportunity to do secondary research, which is a very, very much a theme that has been come up in today's talks. What I want to share today is a case study that we did, again, US-based, and really building on the insights of the value of PROs in clinical practice and the opportunity of digital technology to enable this capture, and really look at the scalability of and deployability of PROs on a broad scale in a multi-institution setting across the US using standardized PRO measure sets, in this case focusing on lung cancer. And really, can these scalable measure sets be sufficiently multifaceted to facilitate patient centricity and value-based care goals and objectives? We use the reference point, the core outcome set from H20 for lung cancer. We compared it against the Carevive baseline and weekly surveys to ensure that there was a comparable degree of measure and domain capture, so there'd be good proxy for that. These measures, by the way, were designed in conjunction with scientific experts such as Dr. Ethan Bash. And really what we wanted to do is then look at within our system, in the data that had been gathered through real-world standard of care deployment platform, how is patient engagement? How is clinical engagement? We saw patient engagement was actually quite high while patients were on treatment. While patients were actively undergoing cancer therapy, we got back 85% of surveys that we sent back. So we saw very high level engagement. We saw nearly half these patients when the reports said, requesting callbacks from the care team. And as far as the alerts for symptom of severity, we saw those triggered early on in care. Like 87% of patients had something within 4 weeks. So again, we saw very good signs of patient engagement and involvement. We also used the secondary data from our platform to look at clinician engagement. And we saw that, the clinical teams working with the platform were accessing it 2 to 3 times a week. They were responding to alerts within a median time of 20 hours, and over 2/3 of alerts were addressed within 48 hours. So overall, I think this was a great example of taking data, real data from a platform like this and showing that in a multi-institution geographic setting that PRO surveys not only were engaging and drove clinical care, but were deployable and feasible. We didn't want to just, that work, by the way, was also presented at ASCO back in June. So if anyone wants to learn more, that's publicly available. We want to go a step beyond just looking at feasibility and engagement and look at actual impact and benefit, as well as opportunities for improvement. So we did some follow-on qualitative work where we spoke with 10 of the physicians and nurses who were users of the platform to get their impressions and perspective on platform itself. And some themes that emerged in this qualitative work were that, yes, they felt that the use of ePROs in clinical practice did improve patient outcomes, particularly the early identification of problems and proactive ability to manage symptoms and experience on therapy. They also felt that there were improvements to care efficiency in the clinical workflow, mainly through enhanced quality of communication, more timeliness of interaction, and basically less frequent need for patient visits in a face-to-face setting. For opportunities for improvements and things that were highlighted were, I think this would be no stranger to anyone who works with these types of platforms, is that support for implementation in the clinical workflow, things like integration of other systems, mindfulness of clinician and patient burden, getting buy-in from the clinical team, and a good system for ongoing training and onboarding as staff turns over within a health system. And also, I think another opportunity improvement was better engagement of patients. I think the role of the nurse in the US was highly critical, but things like what one would expect, overcoming barriers in technological literacy. Cancer is often older patients, so there may be issues of cognitive decline. Then, of course, working with patients to understand the value of engagement and alleviate concerns around data privacy. We're actually embarking on a second phase of this project that we're considering and planning at this point in time. This is very much in the theme of the second panel, which whose focus was on systematic, standardized gathering of PRO data and patient experience data to inform cost effectiveness, to assessment, to inform patient experience, understanding, health authority, evaluation. Really, we want to look at, comparison within our platform of what is the impact on patients who do engage with PRO monitoring and PRO gathering, and those who do not, and understand what are the clinical outcomes and health resource utilization outcomes. As part of this, we'd also like to look at what's the value of the data that's generated this way in a more deeper lens to understand things like robustness, validity, fit for purposeness for authority engagements. It's something that we definitely would like to embark on in the US, but we'd also would like to explore opportunities to do this alongside some of the other efforts going on within H2O in Europe, because this could be different in different settings, and I think having that robust perspective is very valuable. So there'll be further outreach to see interest in participating in this endeavor. And really, I think the way we're going to drive this in the US is we're going to be linking our PRO and EMR data with insurance claims data. This will allow us to get more robust cost burden and resource utilization data, as well as other information about patient experience, such as adherence, variation in care between sites, and additional claims drive outcomes and measures, with an overall goal of a future publication of this work as well. So that was our case example, and very much forward to the rest of the PowerPoint presentation.
Thanks, Aaron, for showcasing that great example. I think it really is good to read that the engagement was high, but also that our ambition is confirmed, that patient outcomes are truly improved. So it's also good to see that there's something already on your wish list, the ISPOR poster for 2025. So we will see you next year then at that Congress. So without further ado, we already mentioned the Insight Center, and we also mentioned that we already have almost 1,000 patients included in H2O. So I would like to hand over to Brandon to be our tree stopper at Christmas and show you the lights with sharing us what's the Insight Center about, and launch the website for us live.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Yolanda. My name is Brandon Boyle, and I am part of the Takeda team, and I, in the H2O capacity, work primarily on the H2O Insight Center and also on sustainability. I will try to keep it fresh because I know a lot of people in the room. We're here for my first presentation. Okay. So for those that aren't aware, basically, first question I get a lot is, what is the Insight Center? What's the purpose and so on? And really it's meant to be the first online tool for H2O that is able to, in a live fashion, give data related to what's happening within the H2O ecosystem, both on the clinical, but also on the PRO side. And this is across the institutions and the national observatories, which have signed up so far, Austria, Germany, Netherlands, and Spain. And when we think about the Insight Center and what we hope to achieve, really, in the beginning, and this will evolve as the Insight Center evolve, we want to use it as a communication point and a way to draw patients, draw HCPs, others into the work that we're doing, give them real-time access to patient demographics and so on, really as a resource to, and we talked about it a few times today, increase the interest and the acceptability of what we're doing and draw more patients and providers and so on into our H2O ecosystem. Because once we continue to move forward and get the snowball rolling, it will only get better from here. In addition to the communication piece, really the transparency of outcomes. Right now, today, before the Insight Center launch, we didn't have a broad way of communicating to others what's going on in terms of outcomes and what patients are involved and so on, other than manually collecting it via email on a cadence that made sense. And so I think this is really a great opportunity to be able to share with the world the work that we've been doing and generate excitement. And the last piece here really is around making this available to a broad stakeholder group, whether that be patients, HCPs, regulators, HTA agencies, and so on. As we've seen from a lot of the panelists, there's so much innovation having to do with the PRO collection, patient-facing apps. And those are the foundation for the PRO data that is going to be coming into our Insight Center ecosystem. And so really there's a lot of synergy in what you are all doing and what we're hoping to achieve, and that collaboration is so important to what we want to do here. The Insight Center that we're launching today is a true MVP, minimal viable product. We wanted to focus on basically what would be of the most valuable, what was feasible in the short term that we could get out and make available to help move us in the right direction in getting more healthcare institutions, patients, and so on into the H2O ecosystem. And we went through a very broad stakeholder meeting and feedback sessions with the patient advisory board and researchers and others within the consortium to figure out what was the best as we think about the most feasible and the minimum that we would want to actually include in the Insight Center, and really this is where we landed. It's primarily focused right now on enrolled patients, demographics related to that, and the ability to filter by country and institution and indications and so on. And really we see this as just an early stepping stone to a very broad application that we think is going to continue to just grow in value over the time. Post-launch, we thought it would be beneficial to talk about some examples. Why is this information important in terms of real-life examples? And this is just a subset that we choose. This isn't exhaustive. There's many more. And we tried to take the viewpoint of a few different stakeholder types. So when we think about the patient and a HCP or patients are, let's say, talking amongst themselves and they've heard about H2O a little bit, the talking points, but they don't have a deep understanding of who's part of it, what does it mean, are there other members from their country that have joined, and so on. And this being open source on the H2O website, accessible right now, is a really good way to help with that communication, whether it be the doctor highlighting it or us doing a communication post through any number of means. I think it's just a really important way that we can help continue to get the message out, but also increase the validity and the perception of the work that we're doing, particularly when we're around 1,000 patients and that number to continue to grow. From a researcher perspective, let's say that there's some questions around what data is present. Is it valuable to me? Should I potentially join the H2O ecosystem? They can go on and look at what data is available today, and that could lead to a further conversation about what's possible. and do they want to join the work that we're doing? And then last one here, just in terms of HCPs, as we move forward, our goal is not only to increase the number of patients that we have within the ecosystem, but providers, which then again will also help grow the number of patients. And again, further giving them information, insights, helping to hopefully steer them in the direction of being part of the work that we're doing. Now, as the Insight Center becomes more mature, and Alex will talk about a little bit about what we're going to focus on moving forward. These use cases will only grow further, and very excited about both the launch and what's to come in the future. I'll hand it over to Alex if you want to give us a live demo.
I think I'll use this mic. If I can just go to the, I think it's the previous presentation. Oh, it's coming. Yeah, great. Okay, demo time. Yeah. My name is Alexander, and I work at Karolinska University Hospital in Stockholm, Sweden. And as part of my job, I am also involved in the H20 project. I've been involved since the beginning, about 4 years ago. But even more intensively over the last several months, when we were working more intensively on developing this dashboard, which I will present shortly. And it's a really team effort. There were a number of people involved in this. Yeah, many of them are sitting in the audience, both locally in the local observatories in the 4 countries, but yeah, also centrally the ones we were coordinating this effort. And yeah, as Brandon said, this is a aggregated dashboard based on the aggregated data. It's a minimal viable product. We try to focus on the key features and key functions, some of the basic things in this version, but our ambition is, of course, to continue developing this and get both more patients, but also to add some more new features in the future. Yeah, this and the dashboard is found at the H20 website, and where there is actually the image of the dashboard, and there is a link also that we can click to go to the interactive version of the dashboard, where we can see both those all these data cuts, breakdowns that Brandon also showed a little bit earlier in the presentation, and also some basic filtering options. Yeah, as you see, we have 984 patients enrolled at the moment. They are from 4 different countries, 4 different healthcare institutions, and also 4 different disease areas. As I said, we're hoping to increase those numbers over time. Yeah, and these are all the breakdowns. You see it directly on the first screen. There is a possibility, as I said, to filter by country. For example, now we are in Vienna, Austria. If we want to see the only Austrian patients and the breakdown, and their breakdown, so to say, by these parameters, we can always easily choose Austria, for example, and the dashboard will filter the Austrian patients. In the same way, we can do the healthcare institution. At this point, it doesn't have. Yeah, we have 1 healthcare institution per country, so the results will be same. But as the Insight Center grows and we connect more healthcare institutions, then this kind of function will be more important. And finally, we can also limit the dashboard to show the certain time period if we're interested, and yeah, maybe the researcher is interested in, let's say, data from 2023 only, and so on. So these are some of the basic features. Yeah, and also we can easily change numbers into percentages. Like for example, we have, if we want to know the distribution by sex, it's easier probably to talk about percentages than to talk about counts. And the same applies to the age, and also we can see the enrollment over time. So these are some of the basic functions that are included in the dashboard at the moment. We are, yeah, we'll continue working on it, and we have established some basic data flows, and this is something that's going to continue developing simply. Okay, just to finish off my my part of the presentation, I would like to show you a couple of or few quotes from. Sorry, this is not. If we.
Lulu, can we go back to the presentation?
Maybe I close this. Ah, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I can, yeah, I can take this mic, yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, we're really excited that we launched the Insight Center, and we also asked some of our colleagues that are part of the H2O consortium to give us their thoughts about the Insight Center, and they have very diverse backgrounds, and they represent different stakeholder groups. So it's interesting to see what they're thinking. And these are the quotes we got from there. You can see that they're highlighting different aspects of the Insight Center. They're highlighting the importance of the PROs, importance of collecting data in a standardized manner, importance of creating interesting insights and visualizing them. Also very interesting patient perspective and how they view the Insight Center and how they think that their involvement can improve care. And also I think Insight Center can be also a good place for researchers to start their research because we have all the, let's say, data is summarized, and you can see what kind of data is available potentially for the research. And also I can say from myself as representing a healthcare provider, we are always very interested to make a benchmarking with other healthcare providers, and we have made several tries actually, and it's not so easy to do a correct benchmarking. Sometimes data is not collected in a standardized way. Sometimes there are some other issues, but I think the way we have structured H2O and the way we are approaching this question, I think it can be very attractive also for healthcare providers to use the H2O data to make, let's say, fair and correct benchmarking and bench learning, I would say also, because when we compare ourselves to others, the main purpose is to learn and share the best practice. Okay, I think I'll finish there. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alexander. You take this seat. Thank you for showcasing indeed the Insight Center. Although it's a minimal viable product, I'm very impressive, and I know you guys also did a lot of work, not only by launching it, but also behind the scenes. We saw all the demos from our tech providers from Germany and Austria, showcasing what is already happening in true H2O Live. But also we talked about the use cases, H2O IBD app in Austria. What could be all done with data with Rahim? And of course also showcasing the example from around the globe. So I think I'm very happy with all the presents we delivered for you. But I think we have a couple of more minutes to do some Q&A. So Preston, I'm very curious whether somebody gave you a compliment.
Why did you ask me? No, I'll shoot a private to you later for all of us.
Okay, yeah.
We do have several questions actually, but I'll start here. How do we ensure the uptake of such digital tools? How do we make patients aware of them? And who's responsible for raising that awareness?
I'm looking at some of the tech providers. Maybe you already have some experience or thoughts or wishes.
So one of the key ingredients of H2O being successful in the future will be the number of patients enrolled in the studies. And we've seen it ourselves in the few years that we've been on the market. We are all technical, not all of us, but the technical providers, we give tech demos. But at the end of the day, I myself participated in medical studies, and the reason I participated was a human contact. I was talking to my doctor said, would you be interested in doing this or that? The enrollment needs to happen at a basic human level, and what we experienced is that apart from all of the technical screws that we can turn to make these tools more authentic and validated, it always comes down to people talking to each other and us teaching how to use the technology to the researchers and the doctors themselves, and that will drive the numbers up.
Maybe just a little add-on. I think you're completely right in saying that there is this large role for the healthcare professionals to really make, well, ensure towards the patient that it's a trusted source that they can use. And I think there's also another thing that what needs to happen is that also then the patients that start to be using it also will be getting the right reflection back in the meetings that they have with their physicians and talk about those results and see that something is actually happening with their responses. Because what we do see is that in cases it doesn't happen, that patients are also less willing to then continuously fill out those questionnaires going forward. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Brendan.
Yeah, I would echo that. CareVive solution really relies on it being something that's presented to the patient by the care team as something the care team would like them to use to help stay in touch and take better care of them. So it's something that largely it's the the nurse who does this presenting. So that's key one. The other key is the patient has to see something in it for them. We feel that the communication and the responses from the care team that they get in exchange for filling out the surveys, in addition to having information available when they come through their meetings, is really what gives patients that sense of, I'm filling this out and completing the surveys for a reason. That reason is actually helping me as well as helping others. So I think those are two keys that we see in our platform.
I'd agree with all of you. I'd say that particularly for H2O, while we are working on creating the value, patient dashboards and so on, maybe we look within, not to call out Austria, but they've done quite a great job at being able to recruit patients. I think there's things that we could probably discuss in future conversations and take learnings potentially from their interactions, because you know, wherever we can learn from the things that we've been doing.
Yeah, it's great examples indeed, and we often call that steal with pride, but indeed we emphasize a learning system here, where we should share the learning, of course, in this network, which we do. Any other questions that are in the Slido?
Absolutely, yes. How do we ensure that the insights captured through these tools are relevant for the patient, for the HTA, for the doctor, for the researcher?
How do we ensure it's relevant? I'm looking at Raheem.
Yeah, I think I could start with this. And in my mind, we're already doing it because we're all here together as patients, as clinicians, as researchers, as industry. And when these sort of infrastructures are developed, or when PROs are implemented, if they are implemented from the top down, they don't work. They don't meet sustainability. If they are integrated from the bottom up, with patients, with clinicians having a voice in what is relevant to them, then you're much more likely to succeed.
One more thing, and I swear I'll shut up. As far as the pan-European, acting as a standardization body, part of that multi-stakeholder consensus, if you're able to include HTA regulators, then from the very beginning, you're you're able to have that cohesion around what you're measuring, which gives you a head start then to pull that through, as opposed to after the fact, seeing if that works for all parties.
Anybody wants to add something from the, yeah, Timo?
It's a good question because we have to also understand from where the PROs are coming, because we have a lot of PRO tools which are made for clinical trials, and they're very good for clinical trials, but they are not tailored for routine care. And there's really an understanding which is needed to divide between the need of routine care and the need of clinical trials. And therefore, routine care PROs must really create a value during the routine care or interaction between physician and patients. And so that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. Indeed, it's important to bridge that gap from clinical trials to routine practice, as we do with the common metrics that we have developed, of course, in H2O. So good to see also in the examples that has been recognized. I'm looking at the room, whether there's any urgent question or a question popping up. Yeah, Ronald.
Thank you. We have seen very nice examples of different apps, but they all look a little bit different. How do we ensure that the answers that have been given in different apps are comparable and come back to the same data source where we can really leverage that as real data?
Sure, maybe I'll go first. So I think that's really also about how do you define the set of PROs that you would like to be asking for. And with H2O, there is a generic set, and we may have shown different examples today, but in practice, if we would be gathering the exact same data across the different clinics, across the different countries, then that's what you will see here as well. But then when you talk maybe more of very specific added questions on specific treatments on top of the generically asked H2O questions, then you can even get a more completer set of data. So I think that's, at least from the data perspective, and how you can ensure that it's similarly asked across to those clinics.
If I might add to that, first of all, I don't want to spoil the party for anybody, but I expect not all of the technical providers staying on the program forever. So there will be cannibalization of technical providers, if you want, just like that. Also, when the solution spreads to other countries in Europe, I don't expect every country to have their own technical provider. So there will be a handful doing this job. And then the other part is when you all do ask the same questions, but with a little bit of different graphics and a little bit of a different presentation, and you, after a year or so, you start to measure differences in the answers of the patients, and you can't clinically say where they come from. You might be able to look at it from a technical or from a procedural standpoint. So this is what we do with the movies, for example, that I've shown you. We try those out, and when we find out that patients actually stop watching the movie at a certain point, we go back to movie creating, because that might be there might be something in there, a point where a patient gets bored or where they don't want to continue, and that can be the same with a questionnaire. What better place than a large cross-country cohort of patients all filling out the same questionnaires to find out if your technical solution is a little bit worse than the other one, or better.
Thanks for sharing the perspectives. And I think with that we're at the end of this panel. I want to give a big round of applause for all the panelists.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Jolanda, for moderating this huge panel so smoothly, and yeah, thank you all for showing what you got. I think there we are already through. Before I say goodbye, I would like to give Manny and Tanya the opportunity to, I see a frown, to also wrap up from the H2O perspective. I think we've seen a lot, I think we heard a lot, but this panel specifically, I think, gave us the opportunity to get a feel for what H2O is like, and it was a great experience. Manny, Tanya, I think you probably agree to that, but probably also you have to add something, knowing you.
There was a hint there, but actually I don't think I have to add to add anything. I think we had a very rich day. I feel that we had some very good concrete content, reflecting a little bit on the last 4 years. I think what we see with every year that passes, that we're getting much more mature in our thinking of how this can take shape and where this can lead, and what we can do concretely to make this a success. I'm very excited because we are having today also a physical meeting with the PO board, which is what is the continuation of our journey, and how we can bring forward this mission that we've embarked on. And we're also having the steering committee tomorrow, where we can, during the night, reflect on all the things we've heard today and think strategically with the colleagues all together how to bring this forward. So I think my last words of wisdom is enjoy the evening, take a good rest, in particular for those of you who are coming to the steering committee tomorrow, and come with fresh ideas so we can make the last year of the project a big success. Thank you.
Tanya, anything from your side to add?
So I think I have nothing to add. We had a very rich day today, so thanks everyone for participation and all the good ideas and questions. And I wish everyone a good dinner and conversations tonight. I think it's important that we also discuss over the dinner together, and maybe also speak about other topics not related to work. So it's always very nice and has been a pleasure to enjoy some time with you, and I think you will give some directions, or Melanie will give some directions how to access the dinner, in fact. And I hope we see lots of you tomorrow, and for those we do not see tomorrow, we wish you a very good journey back, and I hope you don't have to take the train if you go west from Vienna. But it's better to fly, probably. Yeah. So thanks everyone. I think we had a very good day, and thanks to all the panelists and very impressive presentations also from the tech providers. And like Manny said, I think we have advanced a lot from the previous meetings, and it's always great to see all this success that we had together. So thank you.